My whole life, I thought my father died in a car crash until his name appeared in a billionaire's will. You ever get one of those emails that flips your entire world upside down before your coffee even brews? Mine came at 3:12 a.m. Subject line, Estate of Leland Grayson. Confidential matter. Spam, I thought. I almost deleted it. Then I saw my full name, middle initial and all, spelled perfectly in the salutation. And the words that followed punched me in the chest. Mr. Markham, you were listed as a secondary beneficiary in the final will and testament of Mr. Leland J. Grayson. Grayson. I'd seen the name in Forbes. A billionaire. Real estate empire. Political donor. Rumored ties to offshore accounts and private security firms that didn't ask questions. The kind of man who made other men nervous. I'd never met him. But attached to the email was a scan of a notarized document. And that's where I saw it, a signature at the bottom. Thomas Markham. Witness. My father. Except, he died when I was 5. Car crash. Black ice. A closed casket funeral. My mother sobbing so hard she nearly collapsed at the service. I remember the urn. The church. I remember standing too still, because even at 5, I knew something permanent had happened. And now his name shows up, alive and well, in a billionaire's will? I didn't wake Olivia right away. I just sat there on the edge of the bed, heart pounding, rereading that name over and over like it might rearrange itself into something that made sense. Thomas Markham. Dad. Gone for 23 years. Except maybe not. When Olivia finally stirred, she looked over and whispered, Liam. You okay? I didn't even realize I was crying. I think my father's alive, I said. That woke her up. She sat up, blinking hard. What? I turned the screen toward her. Look. This came an hour ago. It's from a legal firm in Manhattan. They're saying I'm a beneficiary in Grayson's will. And that name, that signature, that's him. That's my dad. She read it, slow, then looked at me like I just told her the earth was flat. But, Liam, your father died. That's what I thought too. The next morning, I called the number in the email. Got transferred 3 times before a woman named Regina came on the line. Calm, clip tone. Professional to the point of clinical. Yes, Mr. Markham. We've been expecting your call. Expecting me? She confirmed my identity, every detail. Address. Date of birth. Even the emergency contact number I hadn't updated since grad school. Then she said it. Mr. Markham, Thomas Markham, is alive. Silence. I had to lean against the wall. He is under protective designation, she continued. But he has asked that you be given the option of contact. No pressure. It is entirely at your discretion. I asked why now. Why this? Why Grayson? Those details are best shared in person, she said. If you're willing. I hung up. Then I just sat there on the kitchen floor while the dog barked at a squirrel outside and Olivia kept asking me if I needed water or space or something. But how do you respond to something like that? What do you do when the man you buried turns out to be alive and signing witness documents for billionaires? I didn't eat that day. Didn't sleep that night either. Because it wasn't just about the money or the will or even Grayson. It was the question I'd buried a long time ago. Why did he leave? And worse, what kind of man pretends to die and never looks back? I didn't know it yet, but this wasn't the end of something. It was the beginning of the hardest story I'd ever have to live through. The law firm looked like the kind of place that billed 5 figures just to make eye contact. Receptionist smiled at me like she already knew what was about to happen. I gave my name. She clicked something, nodded once, and said, Mr. Whitmore will see you now. Corner office. 42nd floor. Quiet enough to hear my heartbeat. He was already standing, this man in a tailored suit and courtroom posture. Silver hair, heavy watch, calm like a surgeon before a cut. Mr. Markham, thank you for coming. Please, sit. I didn't. Not right away. My legs were too wired. I paced to the window instead. Midtown skyline spread out like a map I didn't recognize. Before we begin, he said gently, I want to acknowledge that this is unusual. For everyone. Unusual? I nearly laughed. My dead father was alive and signing legal documents for billionaires. That went beyond unusual. He slid a folder across the desk. Black leather. Too elegant for something that felt radioactive. Inside is a letter. From your father. Written by hand. It was to be delivered only upon your agreement to contact. I stared at it. He wrote this knowing I might hate him. Whitmore's eyes didn't flinch. Yes. I opened the folder. Pulled out the paper. His handwriting hadn't changed. I remembered it from birthday cards, blocky, slanted, A little too aggressive for love, Dad. Liam, if you're reading this, then I know what you've learned. And I know how much I owe you, not an apology, but the truth. I didn't die. I disappeared. I did it to protect you. From something bigger than you were ever meant to carry. There are things I can't write down. Not here. But if you're willing, I'll explain. Face to face. Dad. I dropped the letter like it was hot. Is this a setup? I asked. Is this some long con? Whitmore shook his head. Mr. Markham, I've met your father. I've worked for him. And for Mr. Grayson. If this were a con, it'd be the most elaborate I've ever seen. I finally sat. Why now? Why after 23 years? Whitmore folded his hands. Because Mr. Grayson is dead. And the protections that kept your father hidden, they're no longer needed. Protections. That word stuck. So what was he running from? The lawyer paused. Measured his words. Your father worked for people with deep reach. Dangerous clients. His exit wasn't exactly approved. There were threats made. Against him. Against you. The room spun. I gripped the armrests. So he faked his death? Mr. Grayson arranged the details. Paperwork. Cover story. Financial relocation. And my mother? Was not informed. For her protection. I laughed. It came out hollow. She buried a man who wasn't even in the coffin. Whitmore didn't speak. I looked at the skyline again. All those birthdays. Every Christmas. Graduation. First heartbreak. First job. Every damn milestone without him. And now he wanted to explain? Where is he? Whitmore opened another folder. Slid a card toward me. An address in Connecticut. He lives under the name Thomas Calder. He asked for one meeting. 1 hour. No strings. I took the card. Didn't say yes. Didn't say no. I just walked out. Past the silent receptionist. Into the street where the noise finally drowned out the roar in my chest. That night, I stared at the ceiling while Olivia slept. And the only question that mattered looped in my head. Do I want to hear why? Or do I want him to live with the silence he left me in? The house was smaller than I expected. Tucked behind a line of pines. Wood paneling. Sagging porch. Like something forgotten on purpose. I double-checked the address Whitmore gave me, then triple-checked the GPS. This was it. I almost turned around. Twice. Maybe 3 times. The last time was when I was halfway up the steps and my hand hovered over the doorbell. Then the door opened on its own. He stood there. Gray at the temples. Thinner than I remembered from the old photos. But it was him. Thomas Markham. My father. He didn't speak right away. Didn't smile either. He just looked at me like he was memorizing a face from a dream. You came, he finally said. I could have said a lot of things. I could have screamed. Hit him. Cried. All I managed was, you're real. He nodded once. I made coffee. It's terrible, but it's hot. We sat at his kitchen table. Scarred wood. Mismatched chairs. A single cracked mug with a university logo faded beyond recognition. You don't look like I expected, I said. Neither do you, he said. You look like a man. I took a sip. Bitter. Scalding. So, I said, this is where you've been. He looked out the window. Mostly. I stared. Waited. Let the silence stretch until it threatened to snap. You let us bury you, I said, my voice low. I did. You let Mom believe you died. You let me grow up without a father. Without answers. Without anything. He nodded. Didn't argue. That somehow made it worse. Why? I asked. Give me something. Anything. He set his coffee down. Folded his hands. Looked at them like they might start bleeding. Because the alternative was watching you die. That stopped me. He looked up. They were going to hurt you. That's not a dramatic flourish, that's a fact. I made enemies. The kind you don't buy off. The kind who remember the names of your loved ones. Who were they? Clients. Syndicates. Men who moved things across borders that weren't supposed to move. I handled logistics. Off-the-books finance. They trusted me. Until I didn't want to do it anymore. I leaned back. So you bailed. I tried to walk. 1 week later, your kindergarten teacher found a dead bird in her mailbox. Next day, a man followed your mother from work. That wasn't coincidence. He looked me dead in the eyes. They knew where you were. I sat with that. The weight of it. So you faked your death. He nodded. Grayson helped. He had the power to vanish people. Not cleanly, but effectively. And that made it okay. I snapped. That justified never coming back? He winced. No, nothing justifies it. But I chose your life over my presence. I thought I was doing the right thing. I stood. pushed the chair back harder than I meant to. You don't get to make that call. You don't get to vanish and show up 2 decades later like a weathered ghost. He stood too, slowly. Not to argue, just to meet me at eye level. I know, he said, and then something in him broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a soft collapse in his shoulders. His eyes glistened, but no tears fell. I watched you grow up, Liam. I had people send me photos, reports. I celebrated your wins. From here, alone. I wanted to hate him. I really did. But somewhere between his shaking voice and the smell of burnt coffee, I felt my anger blur at the edges. So what now? I asked. He sat back down, hands trembling. Now I tell you everything. From the start. No edits. No omissions. I didn't sit. Not yet. But I didn't leave either. And that was the beginning of something I never thought I'd feel again. Curiosity about the man who used to tuck me in and then vanished like a shadow with my name. I didn't expect it to feel like this. Sitting across from him, listening to a man I buried 23 years ago talk like we were catching up over beer. He opened an old shoebox. Faded photos, papers, a few postcards I never received. He pushed one across the table. I picked it up. Me. 5th grade. Science fair ribbon in my hand. That wasn't in the yearbook, I said. He nodded. Private investigator I trusted. She got me access. I paid extra for context. I needed to know if you were happy. I didn't respond. He showed me more. Pictures of Olivia and me on vacation. My college graduation. A shot of me getting promoted at my firm. Taken from across the street. Jesus, I muttered. You were watching the whole time. From a distance. Always. The shoebox snapped shut. He sat back. Let out a breath like it had been sitting in his chest since the 90s. I want to explain what happened with Grayson. I folded my arms. Start talking. He did. Grayson wasn't just a billionaire. He was a broker. A facilitator. He kept secrets for people who couldn't afford headlines. Politicians, cartel middlemen, CEOs with offshore accounts and dirty hobbies. My father, Thomas Markham, had been one of his fixers. I was smart. Fast. Willing to stay quiet. That made me valuable. Too valuable. Until you wanted out. Until I saw something I couldn't unsee. He wouldn't say what. Not yet. But his face changed. A shadow passed through it. And suddenly he wasn't my father. He was a man haunted by a decision that never let go. I told Grayson I was done. He told me I wasn't. Next day, I got a photo of you on your way to school. No caption. Just the message. I closed my eyes. He continued. That night, I met Grayson. Told him I'd disappear. Never talk. Never surface again. But I needed him to make it real. And he did. He nodded. Paid off a coroner. Created a fake crash site. Burned a vehicle with a donor cadaver. Dental records swapped. Obituary approved by the state. I felt sick. All those years. All that grief. Engineered like a business transaction. Your mother didn't know, he added. She was collateral damage. It was the only way to keep her safe. To keep you safe. I clenched my fists. Did you love her? He looked at me, and for the first time, something soft showed. More than anything. Which is why I had to vanish. Because if I stayed, they would have hurt what I loved most. The clock on the wall ticked. I hated how much I wanted to believe him. And now? I asked. Why surface now? He ran a hand down his face. Because Grayson's dead. His protections died with him. The men who wanted me gone are either buried or behind bars. And because there's something you need to see. He stood, opened a drawer, pulled out a flash drive. This has the truth. The part one never told anyone. Not Grayson. Not the feds. Not even the PI who kept tabs on you. What is it? Proof. Of what happened. Why I had to run. Why I stayed gone. I took the drive. Held it like it might burn me. You can walk out now, he said. I won't stop you. I don't deserve forgiveness. But if you want to know everything, plug that in. I didn't answer. Not yet. But I didn't let go of the drive either. And that was the moment I realized. I came here for closure. But what he gave me was a key to a story I didn't know I was part of. I didn't plug in the drive that night. I went back to the hotel, stared at the ceiling, and listened to Olivia breathe next to me while the flash drive sat on the nightstand like a loaded gun. It took me until morning. She found me at the little desk in the corner, laptop open, thumb drive in, eyes locked on a paused video file. You okay? Not even close, I whispered. She sat beside me. Said nothing. Just placed a hand on my back and waited. The video started with static. Then his voice, younger, sharper, like the version of him I never got to know. Recording for insurance. If you're watching this, I'm either dead or burned so bad I can't talk. Either way, this is my truth. I felt myself sink into the chair. The footage jumped. A hidden camera view. Office with wood-paneled walls. Grayson sitting behind a desk. My father, younger, suit jacket off, pacing. Grayson said, "You're not walking. You know too much." My dad, "Then kill me. Because I'm done hiding what I saw." The angle changed. A file dropped on the desk. "You think you're a hero now? You expose this, and you die. Your wife dies. Your kid dies." My stomach turned. The screen froze on my father's face. Jaw tight. Voice steady. "Then I vanish. But I swear to God, if anything happens to my son, I will burn your entire empire down from the grave." The footage cut. Next came documents. PDFs, scans, raw audio logs. Grayson's private ledgers. Lists of names, judges, city planners, foreign ministers, with amounts next to them. Transfers. Offshore routing codes. Dates. Some of the names I recognized from headlines. Scandals. Undisclosed settlements. Political resignations that never made sense. But my father's name wasn't on a single one. He wasn't a player. He was the witness. Olivia leaned in. This could have gotten him killed. It almost did. There was more. A scanned letter from Grayson's estate manager. Notarized confession. A list of assets tied to shell companies, all frozen by Grayson in his final months. He was tying up loose ends. The will didn't just include money. It included evidence. Buried proof. And someone needed to unlock it all. Someone, like me. "He left this for a reason," I said. Olivia nodded. "He wants you to finish it." I didn't say anything, but I knew she was right. The next day, I went back to his house. He was sitting on the porch like he hadn't moved. "You watched it?" he asked. I sat beside him. I did. We watched the trees for a while. Then I asked, "What now?" He pulled a second flash drive from his coat. "This one's for the authorities, not the public. It's safer that way, but it needs to move, and I need someone I can trust." I stared at him. "You sure I'm that person? After everything?" He didn't flinch. "You're the only one who doesn't want anything from me. That makes you the most honest man I know." I didn't know what to say, so I took it. Because the story wasn't just about secrets anymore. It was about what I was going to do with them. Delivering it wasn't the hard part. The hard part was not looking over my shoulder the whole time. I drove to D.C. alone. Told Olivia I needed to do this without her. Without anyone. Just me, the drive, and the second flash drive in the glove box like it was ticking. He gave me a name, contact at a federal bureau, off books. "He's clean," my father said. "He's scared of becoming part of the machine, so he fights it from inside." I met the agent in a parking lot behind a public library. Cliché, I know, but that's how he wanted it. Mid-40s, pressed shirt, tired eyes that had seen too much and trusted too little. He looked at me like he was trying to decide if I was worth the risk. "You Markham." "Liam." "Yeah." I handed him the drive. He slipped it into a pocket without flinching. Didn't even look at it. "You don't want a receipt or something?" He gave me a look. "That's not how this works. If this is real, if it checks out, you won't hear from me. Not ever. But you'll see things change. Quietly. Slowly. And maybe something will get cleaned." He turned. Started to walk. "Hey," I called out. "What if I don't want to stay quiet?" He paused. "Then you better be damn sure your house is in order. Because noise attracts fire. And not all of us survive the burn." Then he was gone. I sat in the car for a long time. Heart thumping like I just pulled off a heist. I didn't call my father. I didn't go back to his house. I just drove. Aimless. Half hoping to get pulled over, arrested, questioned, something to prove what I just did mattered. But nothing happened. Not that night. Not the next day. Instead, it all hit me the morning after. Over coffee. Front page news. Federal probe opens into offshore real estate collusion. Anonymous evidence submitted. Names withheld pending review. It was a breadcrumb. A whisper. But I knew. He was right. Something was moving. Olivia read it over my shoulder. "You think that's it?" "No," I said. "That's the start." The next week, I met my father again. This time, I didn't knock. Just walked into the house. He was watching the news. Silent. Pale. "You knew this would happen," I said. He nodded. "So what now? You run again? Change names?" "No," he said. "This time, I stay." We stared at the screen. Name scrolling. faces blurring, power unraveling one headline at a time. I want to help more, I said. Whatever this is, I'm in. He looked at me, really looked at me, like he was seeing not just a son, but a partner. Then you better be ready, because what comes next, it's not revenge, it's reckoning. And for the first time, I didn't feel like the kid left behind. I felt like the man who showed up. We didn't dive in like spies. No black ops. No thrillers. It started slow, painfully slow. My father kept everything. I mean everything. Paperwork. Names. Transactions. Notes scribbled on napkins. Maps. USBs labeled with years and nicknames that only made sense to him. It was like digging through a conspiracy that had been marinating for decades. I asked him once why he never turned it all in. He didn't answer. Just looked at me with that weight in his eyes again, the kind of look that says, because you don't kill dragons by handing them a mirror. So we did the work. 2 months. That's how long it took to create the second package. The one that wasn't for the government. The one that was for the people. If anything happens to us, he said, this needs to live somewhere louder. We set up encrypted servers. Contacted a journalist my father trusted from way back. One of the last honest ones. He'll know what to do. But only if we disappear. Not before. I didn't ask what he meant by disappear, because part of me didn't want to know. The deeper we went, the clearer it became, this wasn't just about hiding. This was about surviving long enough to pull the right thread. One file at a time. We found blueprints for buildings with hidden tunnels. Tapes of hush money meetings. A photo of a senator's nephew in a room he swore he was never in. Every day we worked, I saw a little more of who my father really was. Not just the ghost who left, but the man who stayed away so I could have a future. One night, I caught him staring at an old photo, me on a tricycle, helmet too big for my head. He didn't say anything, just handed it to me. You would have made a hell of a bike racer, he said. I laughed. Couldn't help it. You would have made a good coach. He smiled, but it didn't last. I want to believe we can finish this. But if something happens to me, you can't stop. Don't talk like that. Liam, I mean it. No matter what. Burn it down. All of it. You owe them nothing. It was the first time he ever sounded afraid, and the first time I understood what legacy really meant. Not inheritance, not blood, but standing in the fire and not flinching. Because the truth isn't safe, but sometimes it's worth everything. We were a week away from going public. The package was ready, file sorted, dead man switch prepped, the journalist waiting for a signal. My father had even written a statement, just in case he couldn't deliver it himself. Then the break-in happened. I came home late. Grocery bags in one hand, my phone in the other. I saw the door first, slightly open. Then the glass, cracked near the knob. Everything in me went still. I didn't call out. I didn't rush inside. I backed up, walked across the street, and dialed his burner. No answer. Second ring. Third. Then his voice, quiet, breathless. Don't come in. Where are you? In the basement. There's one. Maybe two. I hit the panic button. My skin went cold. I dropped the groceries and ran. By the time I got there, it was chaos. Sirens. Lights. A man in a ski mask cuffed on the lawn. Police yelling. Neighbors filming from porches. My father was sitting on the front steps, hands scraped, shirt torn. They knew, he said. They knew we were close. I looked at the cops. How many? 2. One got away. And just like that, it wasn't paranoia anymore. It was war. The next 3 days we lived like fugitives. Hotels under aliases. Using burner phones. Encrypting everything, twice. Olivia joined us, calm, composed, fiercer than I'd ever seen her. We need to move now, she said. Before they try again. We had the package. We had the drop points. But something had shifted. My father wasn't the same. He was quieter. Always looking over his shoulder. Not scared, just haunted. You okay? I asked him. No, he said. But I'm ready. We met the journalist in a motel 2 hours outside the city. He was older, hunched, but his eyes were sharp. This everything? He asked. My father nodded. You publish this, I said. You'll need protection. He smiled. Son, I've been waiting 30 years to burn this house down. I'll take my chances. The exchange was clean. Fast. By morning, it was everywhere. Breaking. Billionaire Grayson implicated in decades-long political corruption web. Documents leaked by anonymous source. Federal investigations reopened. Congressional hearings called. And just like that, the silence shattered. The men who buried truth for decades were suddenly gasping for breath. But I didn't feel relief. I felt something worse. That this wasn't the end. It was the fuse, and everything we'd ever loved was now in the blast radius. It happened 2 nights later. I found him slumped over the kitchen table. No blood, no struggle, just stillness, quiet and complete. His hand was wrapped around a pin. The last thing he wrote still visible, a name I didn't recognize. Scrawled half a dozen times like he was trying to remember it before it slipped away. I screamed his name. Olivia came running. She called 911. I knew before they answered that he was gone. Heart attack. The coroner said it looked natural. Stress, age, the toll of decades lived underground. But I wasn't convinced. Not with everything we'd seen. Not with what he still hadn't told me. There were no signs of forced entry. No toxins. Nothing suspicious on the surface. But I knew better. He died right after we dropped the truth. In truth, it has a body count. The funeral was private. No real name on the headstone. Just initials. Olivia stood beside me. The journalist sent flowers, anonymous, of course. I gave the eulogy. Talked about a man who disappeared to save his family. A man who came back not for redemption, but to finish what needed finishing. A man who didn't ask for forgiveness, and yet gave me everything I didn't know I needed. After everyone left, I stayed. Stared at the dirt. You should have told me the rest, I whispered. I went back to the house that night. Alone. And that's when I found it. A third flash drive. Taped beneath the floorboards in his study. Labeled with one word. Son. I plugged it in. My hands shook. No video this time. Just one document. Password protected. I entered my birthday. It opened. The file was a confession. Not just about Grayson, but about a second network. One that never made it into the public leak. Names even my father didn't trust the government to touch. Powerful. Alive. Watching. He hadn't given it to the journalist because he knew what it meant. He left it for me. Because this war wasn't over. And now, it was mine to fight. I didn't sleep for 3 days. I read the document a dozen times. Cross-referenced the names. Checked the file history, metadata, timestamps. He wrote it in pieces, over years. One paragraph at a time, under aliases, in hidden folders. Every line told me 2 things. He knew too much. And he knew I'd find it eventually. Some of the names were ghosts from headlines. Others I'd never heard before. But the pattern was clear. These weren't just corrupt men. They were architects. Of policy, of war, of silence. And my father had watched them build the silence brick by brick. He mapped it all. The banks. The contractors. The blackmail channels. Even a facility in Eastern Europe no one had ever confirmed existed until now. I called Olivia. Told her everything. Asked her if she'd walk away now, while she still could. She didn't even pause. Not a chance. The next month, we moved. Left everything behind. New names. New phones. I reached out to the journalist again, this time with the real fire. He said, This will get people killed. Then we're done hiding, I said. We worked in bursts. Secure connections. Paper trails erased after every transmission. We fed the story in chapters. Let it spread like oxygen meeting flame. People noticed. Not just the public. The calls started. Blocked numbers. Breathing on the other end. Once, someone whispered my full name and hung up. We expected it. What we didn't expect was the defection. One of the names, a senator, came forward. Leaked more. Confirmed everything. Your father warned me, he said, live on air. And I didn't listen. But his son made me remember. And with that, the dam broke. Investigations reopened. Foreign tribunals launched. Arrests. Resignations. Exiles. It didn't feel like victory. Not exactly. It felt like loss with a purpose. The kind that burns clean. A year later, I visited the headstone again. Just me. It worked, I said. We did it. I placed the flash drive beneath the stone. Not for history. For legacy. Because my father didn't just disappear. He handed me the match. And I lit the fire.